I says, okay, Bob, but pay attention to getting healed. You know, that's your number one priority. But Bob never listened to anything I say anyway. So continuously, he calls her up, he talks to her, he insisted that we meet this woman and that we hear her story and that we understand the power that was driving her. And of course, he was right. And so to introduce our hero of forgiveness, let me bring out Bob Platt.
Yes, a year ago, or close to a year ago, a little over a year ago, in Sandy Hook, there was an explosion where a kid blew out himself and killed his mother, killed 26 kids in the classroom. One of those kids was Scarlett Lewis's son, and she's here to talk about her journey to forgiveness, which has been very difficult, but she's, because of Jesse's leadership, even from the grave, she's come to writing a book and doing tremendous things with forgiveness and love. A reporter that talked to her at the airport said that he got a chill just being with her and just doing the interview. So I would like to present to you an outstanding woman, Scarlett Lewis, and let her tell you her story of forgiveness. But first of all, I want Jane Jennings to also speak up, because Jane's been with her the last few days, and she's just been awed by the fact that Scarlett is such a deep and wonderful person. And she set up a foundation where she's developing relations with kids, which will help prevent anything like this in the future. I will say one last thing. We are developing a relationship with her organization, and we're also working with Robert Enright of Madison, where he's working with children in 50 schools. So we are looking at, the Forgiveness Alliance is looking at developing with kids so that those kinds of tragedies need not occur. Jane.
And continuing with all the wonderful things that Bob has said, I had the opportunity to meet Scarlett on Wednesday evening. It was truly like meeting an old friend. I cannot find words to really tell you what a wonderful, sweet, and precious soul this woman is. She is a gift to this world. They seen the ultimate tragedy that any parent could ever experience. She handled this with grace, ease, love, and a commitment to honor her precious child. The events that happened before and after his death are amazing. There is no question that this woman has accepted this role as almost a divine ordination to help the world. And we are so pleased and honored to have her in our presence. I cannot even find words to tell you how much we all love her, and we welcome her now.
December 14th, 2012, hell came to the tiny hamlet of Newtown, Connecticut.
He just told us to go in the corner?
A lone gunman, 20-year-old Adam Lanza, shot his way into Sandy Hook Elementary, killing Principal Dawn Hochsprung and school psychologist Mary Sherlock, who ran toward the sound of gunfire. He then turned toward the first grade classrooms, killing teacher Lauren Rousseau and all but one of her students. In Victoria Soto's classroom, the students hid in a corner, holding hands, except for 6-year-old Jesse McCord Lewis, who had stayed by his teacher's side. When Lanza entered the room, he shot and killed Soto, but then his gun jammed. Law enforcement officials would later tell Jesse's mother it was in that moment that Jesse yelled for his classmates to run. 6 managed to escape before Lanza reloaded and shot and killed Jesse. And Jesse's mom, Scarlett Lewis, is with us now. She's written a new book. It's called Nurturing Healing Love, A Mother's Journey of Hope and Forgiveness. Scarlett, it's nice to see you. Good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
I read large sections of this book last night, and boy, I was so moved by it. The last time you saw Jesse was the day before the shooting, and about that morning you write this: "My last morning with Jesse began like so many others. I woke him up with a song, kissed him until he giggled, and we wrestled until time tore us apart." How did you hear about the shooting?
I was at work, and one of my coworkers instant messaged me and said that there was a shooting at a school in Newtown.
And you ended up as one of those parents at that firehouse.
I did.
That we talked about so often in the days after that shooting, and hours passed
Yes.
before you were given actual official news that Jesse was gone. It came from a doctor, I think. And you write about that. "I stared at him and said nothing. I couldn't. At that moment, I couldn't feel, I couldn't move, I couldn't cry. Not until JT, another son, began sobbing, and I threw my arms around him and hugged him as hard as I could." I need to ask you about the shooter and your feelings and your thoughts toward him. Is there possible forgiveness?
You know, I read a book several years ago by Immaculate Ibengenza called Left to Tell, and in it she forgave the people that murdered her family. And when I read that, I thought, there is absolutely no way I could ever forgive anyone who hurt my family. I would kill them. And then flash forward a couple of years, and you know, I knew that forgiveness was possible, and I guess I've learned that forgiveness is cutting the cord to pain. It's taking your power back, and it's, you know, giving you the ability to move forward without anger yourself. Not forgiving doesn't feel good.
I want to mention that proceeds from this book are going to a foundation you started, the Jessie Lewis Choose Love Foundation. What's the goal? What's the mission of that foundation?
So the mission is to create awareness that choosing love is a choice, and we're going to go in and let kids know that they have control over their thoughts. This whole tragedy began with an angry thought in Adam Lanza's head, and a thought can be changed.
Scarlett Lewis, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I have to say, when Bob Plath called me and said that he would like to give me the Hero of Forgiveness Award, I was shocked, because I thought, there's an award for something that I've done simply to survive. It surprised me that there would be an award for forgiveness, because forgiveness has been the most important part of my journey, and it's obviously the reason I'm standing here, but also the reason that I'm able to move forward and do what I do. Because what did I know about forgiveness? On December 13th, 2012, the day before the tragedy, I had a pretty good education. I had 2 parents that loved me. And what I knew about forgiveness was that you should forgive, and that you forgive so that you're forgiven. That's what I knew. But what did I learn after the tragedy, December 14th, 2012? I learned that forgiveness is for me. I forgive for myself. And forgiveness means cutting the cord to your pain, cutting a cord that connects you to the person that's hurt you, not condoning what they did, but separating yourself from them so that you're able to move forward with all your personal power intact and find peace and moments of joy. My 6-year-old son left a message on our kitchen chalkboard shortly before he died. He wrote the words, nurturing, healing, love. Now those 3 words, well, they're obviously phonetically spelled because he was in 1st grade and just learning how to write. But those 3 words are not in the vernacular of a 6-year-old 1st grader. However, they are in the definition of compassion across all cultures. And what do they mean? Nurturing means loving kindness. Healing means forgiveness. And love is compassion in action. I consider December 14th, 2012 to be the world's greatest day of compassion, because on that day, the world came together in the true meaning of compassion. Because compassion has 2 components. The first component is identifying with someone's pain. That means looking and understanding another's pain. And that can be painful. And a lot of times we don't move beyond the first part of compassion because we don't think we have time. It hurts. But the second part of compassion is the most important part. And that's when we actively do something to help ease another's pain. And when we do that, all of the effort and love that we've given out comes back to us tenfold. That's the miracle of compassion. Because the world reached out to us and held us up on that day, in the true meaning of compassion, JT and I, JT is Jesse's older brother, he was 12 years old at the time, we had a unique opportunity when orphan genocide survivors from Rwanda reached out to JT. They wanted to share their experience and also to let him know that he was going to be okay and that he was going to feel moments of joy. Because that was really important. At that time, we weren't sure. So through modern technology of Skype, these 2 beautiful orphan genocide survivors reached out to JT and told him their story. And they said after the murder of their entire families, it was when they came to begin to feel gratitude for the blessings that remained in their life, that they were able to move towards forgiveness. Because they knew that if they didn't forgive, that they would be going down the same path of anger and destruction as those that had murdered their family. And they said when they made the choice to forgive, that gave them the ability to step outside of their own pain and use the meaning of their experience to be in service to others, like what they were doing with JT. And after that experience, JT and I did the same thing. We made the choice to forgive, and then we went out and we used the meaning of our suffering to help other people. I started the Jessie Lewis Choose Love organization to spread Jesse's message of nurturing, healing love. And JT started NewtownHelpsRwanda.org. And I'd really like to acknowledge JT because he lost his little brother. He was with me on December 14th, 2012, when we waited all day at the firehouse, waiting to see if we would be reunited with Jesse. He was by my side, and he was by my side when we got the message that Jesse had been murdered. And he's been with me throughout this entire process. He is also a hero of forgiveness because he made the choice to forgive the man who killed his little brother. And I'd like for JT to stand up and be acknowledged as well. He's one of the strongest people that I know, and another reason that I'm able to stand up here and address you. You know, someone asked me at some point in this journey, it's been a little over a year and a half, to boil my experience down to one word. And that one word would be choice. Because forgiveness is actually a choice. And you can't always choose what happens to you, but you can always, always choose how you react. And that means that you can always choose to live your life in gratitude and to count your blessings. And you can always choose forgiveness. You can choose compassion in the true meaning, which is identifying with someone's pain and actively doing something to help ease that pain. And all that is choosing love. And that's a choice. But another thing I've learned about forgiveness is that it starts with a conscious decision, a choice, and then it becomes a process. Because I chose to forgive, but that doesn't mean that I don't fall back into anger at times. Little details about the tragedy will come in, someone will make a comment, and I get angry. But it doesn't mean that I failed at forgiveness. It just means that I have to forgive again. And this process may go on my whole life. And I'm okay with that, because forgiveness for me means a release of anger. It means taking my personal power back. It means finding peace. And it means having moments of joy. And I also want to acknowledge Jesse's courage. You heard Matt Lauer talk about it in the film clip, and I use Jesse's courage, the fact that he made the choice to stay by his teacher, and he used his last moments of his life to be in service to others, to save his friends' lives. And I use that courage, I keep it in my heart, and I think about it every day. When I wake up, I think about all the courage that it takes for all of us to go out there and to spread this message. The courage that it takes sometimes to tell the truth. The courage that it takes to do the right thing. The courage that it takes to be kind and gentle. And the courage that it takes to forgive. And that's a choice too. And that courage is something that we all have, every single one of us in here. And I want to acknowledge all of you. Thank you for all that you do every day. And I've dedicated my life to spreading Jesse's message of nurturing, healing love. And I thank you for this award.
Forgiveness does heal, and we're all here, and we're healing, and we're together, and it's lovely. Thank you.
So let's acknowledge one more time these wonderful, courageous people who've come to spend some time with us. Dana and Scarlett and Patrick and Dr. Rosenberg's representative. They've all served to share with us some tremendous power. Patrick, stand up. There's Dana. You know, I've had people tell me that I've had people tell me that they didn't want to come to this event because, you know, there's so many horror stories, it would be depressing. And they totally missed the point, because once you get past through the gate of horror, there is joy and wonder and power and courage and love. And since we got so much joy and wonder and power and love, we ought to celebrate with music. So joining us tonight is a group named James Henry and Hands on Fire. They received the Best CD in Northern California last year award. They've been the Best of San Francisco World Beat Music. They've appeared at New Zealand's Bay of Islands Jazz Fest, in Hamburg, Germany, World Tour Jazz Fest. James Henry is a master percussionist, songwriter, film scorer, and producer.